The table shows some values of x and y that satisfy the equation y equals a times the cosine of x plus b. So this is our equation here, and here we've got values for x and corresponding values for y. So when x equals 0, we pop 0 in here and we get a y value of 10. And we want to know the value of y when x is 45. So when we put 45 in here, what is our corresponding value for y? So if we write out the equation again, so we've got y equals a times the cosine of, instead of x, we're going to replace x with 45. So the cosine of 45 degrees plus b. Now the cosine of 45 degrees, you might remember that. Hopefully you do. So the cosine of 45 degrees is one of our exact trig values, and that is √2/2. So our equation is y equals a times, this is just multiplication, times cosine of 45, or times √2/2, and then plus b. Okay, so when x equals 45, we've got y equals a times √2/2 plus b, and we're trying to figure out what y is. But at the moment, we've got a and b, which we don't know. We don't know these values. They're not given to us, so we can't work out what y is at the moment. However, we are given some values up here. We're given x values and corresponding y values, and what we could do is pop them into this equation, into this original equation, to work out the values for a and b. So let's do that. So I'm going to choose these set of values here, and you'll see why I've chosen them in a minute. So we're just going to pop these values into our original equation to work out the values for a and b. So y equals, instead of y, I'm going to replace y with 4. So it's 4 equals a times the cosine of x. Now the cosine of x, that's the cosine of 90 degrees. So cosine of 90 degrees, and then plus b. Now you might already see why I've chosen these set of values, because if we think about the cosine of 90 degrees, what is the cosine of 90 degrees? Again, this is another exact trig value that you should all be familiar with, hopefully by now. So cosine of 90 degrees is just 0. So if this here, if I just highlight this in a different colour, if this is 0, a times 0, well, it doesn't matter what a is, because anything times 0 is just 0. So all of that will just be 0. So all we're left with is 4 equals 0 plus b. Therefore, b must equal 4. 0 plus 4 give us 4. So that's why I chose this one here, because the cosine of 90 degrees is 0. Anything times 0 is 0. So this whole thing becomes 0. So all we're left with is b equals 4. So now we've worked out what b is. We just need to work out what the value of a is. And to do that, I'm going to choose these set of values, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So I'm going to use this equation here. So wherever there's a y, I'm going to replace that with 10. So we've got 10 equals a times the cosine of x. So that's the cosine of 0. Cosine of 0 plus b. Now we know what b is now. We've figured out that b is 4. So all we need to work out now is a. So this is 10 equals a times, what is the cosine of 0? Well, the cosine of 0, again, if you can remember back, so the cosine of 0 is 1. So this is just a times 1, or I could just say a. A times 1 is just a plus 4. Now we just need to solve this equation. If 10 equals a plus 4, subtract 4 from both sides, we are left with a equals 6. So we've worked out our values for a and for b. Now we can solve our equation to work out what the value of y is when x equals 45 degrees. So let's do that. So I'll do it up here. So y equals, so a is 6. So I'm going to colour coordinate this so you can see where the numbers come from. So y equals 6 times √2/2. root 2 over 2 plus b, and now we know that b is 4. Okay, so y equals 6 times root 2 over 2 plus 4. Okay, so this here, 6 times root 2 over 2, so 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 times root 2 is just 3 root 2. So that's this here. That simplifies to this. And then we've just got that plus 4 hanging out the back there. So this is our answer. So when x equals 45, y equals 3 root 2 plus 4. You could pop this into your Casio and work out a decimal, but this is absolutely fine leaving it in this form. And I hope you enjoyed that.